Her baby's cries echoed through the cold, fluorescent-lit supermarket, slicing through the heavy silence that had gathered at the checkout line. People turned, some with pity, some with annoyance. Standing there was a young woman, her hair tied back hastily, her clothes faded from too many washes, her face pale with exhaustion. She clutched a small bundle of groceries, just baby formula, a loaf of bread, and a pack of diapers, essentials, nothing more. The cashier cleared her throat, her voice flat as she repeated, "I'm sorry, ma'am, your card been declined." A flush of embarrassment burned through the poor girl's cheeks. She dug into her tattered purse, her trembling fingers searching for crumpled bills or coins, anything that might be enough. The baby whimpered louder and her heart shattered a little more. Behind her, the line grew impatient. "Can't she hurry up?" someone muttered. "People should only buy what they can actually pay for," another scoffed. Each word stabbed deeper into her chest. She wanted to vanish, to run away, but her baby's needs anchored her there. Tears welled up as she whispered, "Please, let me try again." The cashier sighed, unimpressed. "Ma'am, it's not working. You'll have to leave these items here unless you have another way to pay." The young woman's lips trembled. She pressed a kiss against her baby's forehead, inhaling the faint scent of powder and warmth. She couldn't leave without formula. Her child's cries were from hunger, real hunger. That was when a calm, steady voice cut through the humiliation. "I'll cover it." Everyone turned. A man in an impeccably tailored suit stepped forward, his presence commanding the space instantly. His shoes gleamed, his watch glimmered under the harsh supermarket light, and yet his gaze was soft, fixed entirely on the trembling young mother. He handed his platinum card to the cashier without a second's hesitation. The cashier's eyes widened. "Sir, are you sure?" "Run it," he said firmly. The poor girl blinked up at him, speechless. No, I can't let you." He interrupted gently, "You can, and you will. Your baby needs this more than I need the money." The transaction beeped successful, and the cashier slid the items into a bag. Whispers spread through the line. "Isn't that? Wait, I think I recognize him. That's Ethan Cole, the CEO of Cole Enterprises." The young woman didn't know who he was, didn't care. All she saw was kindness where moments before there had only been judgment. She whispered, "Thank you, I don't know how to repay you." He crouched slightly so that he was at her level, his eyes meeting hers with sincerity. "You don't need to repay me, just promise me you'll keep fighting for him." He nodded toward the baby. Her eyes blurred with tears, and she nodded quickly. As she left the store, clutching the bag like it was treasure, Ethan watched her go. Something inside him stirred, a memory long buried of his own mother standing in similar lines, rejected and dismissed, struggling to provide for him after his father had walked out. He had vowed as a boy that he would never return to that life. And he hadn't. He had built his empire brick by brick, but along the way he had forgotten what struggle looked like. Until now. That night the young mother, her name was Clara, sat in her tiny apartment. The walls were thin, the heater barely worked, but her baby drank the formula happily, his little fists waving in the air. Clara stroked his hair, tears streaming down her face. "We'll be okay, baby. Somehow we'll be okay." But okay was a fragile promise. Clara worked nights cleaning offices, leaving her baby with an elderly neighbor who asked for almost nothing in return. She slept only a few hours each day, but exhaustion was a luxury she couldn't afford. Bills piled up faster than she could pay. Every day felt like a battle against despair. Ethan, meanwhile, couldn't shake the memory of her eyes, tired, desperate, yet fiercely protective. He had helped countless people through charities and donations, but this had felt different, personal, real. He wanted to know if she was all right. The next week, fate intervened. Ethan was touring one of his company's office buildings late at night when he spotted a familiar figure scrubbing the marble floor. Clara froze when she saw him, her mop trembling in her hands. "You," she whispered. He gave a small smile. "Clara, isn't it?" She flushed, embarrassed that he had caught her like this. I didn't realize you were the boss." "You didn't need to," he said softly. "You're working hard, that matters more." Her throat tightened. No one had ever said that to her before. People usually looked at her job with pity or dismissal. Ethan hesitated, then said, "Do you need help?" The dam inside her broke. She shook her head fiercely at first, pride screaming at her to refuse. But then she thought of her baby, of the cold apartment, of the nights she cried silently so he wouldn't wake. And finally she whispered, "Yes." That was the beginning. Ethan arranged for Clara to work in a safer, better-paying position as a receptionist in one of his smaller offices, something that allowed her to bring her baby on certain days. At first, Clara resisted. She hated the thought of charity, but Ethan didn't treat it like charity. He treated it like opportunity. Over time, they talked more. He learned about her late husband, a soldier who had died overseas, leaving her widowed at just 22. He learned about her dreams, how she had once wanted to be a nurse, but life had stolen that chance. And she learned about him too, how he had grown up poor, how he had worked his way up, how despite his wealth, he often felt an emptiness money couldn't fill. Their worlds, so different on the surface, began to intertwine. Still, challenges didn't vanish. Gossip spread in the company, whispers about why the CEO cared so much about one woman. Clara faced sneers from colleagues who thought she was using him. She endured cruel rumors, but she never complained. She only focused on her baby and her work. One evening, as she walked out of the office with her baby asleep on her shoulder, Ethan caught up with her. "You shouldn't have to face this alone," he said quietly. She smiled faintly. "I've been alone a long time, I can handle it." But Ethan shook his head. "You don't have to, not anymore." Something shifted between them that night, a truth unspoken but undeniable. Weeks turned into months. Ethan found himself visiting her tiny apartment, sitting on the floor as he played peekaboo with her baby, laughing in a way he hadn't in years. Clara found herself trusting him, leaning on him, allowing herself to imagine a future where she wasn't always struggling. But just as their bond deepened, Clara's past fears returned. One night after putting her baby to bed, she told Ethan, "You've done so much for me, but I can't let you keep carrying me. I'm just a burden." His expression turned pained. "Clara, you're not a burden. You're a reminder of what matters. You've given me something money never could." Her voice trembled. "What's that?" "Family," he whispered. The word broke her. She wept and he held her, his arms steady and warm. In time, Ethan helped Clara enroll in evening classes for nursing, supporting her dream while still ensuring she could care for her baby. She studied tirelessly, balancing work, motherhood, and school, while Ethan stood by her side through it all. Years later, she walked across the stage in her nurse's uniform, her baby, now a bright, smiling child cheering from the crowd. Ethan was there too, his eyes shining with pride. And when Clara looked back at the moment her card had been declined in that supermarket, she realized it had been the darkest moment that led her to the brightest chapter of her life. Because that day, when the world had turned its back on her, one man had stepped forward. Not as a savior, not as a millionaire CEO, but as someone who saw her worth when no one else did. And in the end, that act of kindness didn't just feed her baby. It gave her back her hope, her strength, and a future filled with love.